We're going to start at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, before I even met you. So we met in 2015 in the summer, in July. But I'd already been a photographer. I feel like I say that I began maybe 2014, but really it was more like 2013, 2012. Even before that,
Yeah.
I've been taking photos as long as I can remember. It wasn't until 2013 that I kind of got a camera, an even better camera. It was gifted to me. I didn't buy it. It was gifted to me. It was a little Fuji X100, and I love that camera and I miss that camera. I was gifted that, and I actually went on exchange. So I was at a university in Australia, where I'm from, and I went on exchange to England, and I went to a university there for a summer. And during that summer, I had my little Fuji X100, and I would meet all these people, a lot of Americans actually, and I would take a portrait of them, just like without them even noticing, and I would show them, and it kind of spread around amongst the cohort that I was in of, oh, that girl Athena, she takes really beautiful photos. You should get her to take a photo of you. And it was when Facebook was really big, and everyone said, I want you to take my new profile pic. That was what I did for people, and it's like amazing even now in, 2019?
Yeah.
I look at these people's Facebook profile pictures and it's the same. It's still my photo from 2013, but by the time I came back, I was really realizing that there's a power in portraiture, there's a power in showing people you are beautiful and to capture their humanity to who they are. You know, we were all really young, we were so excited every single day because we were at the University of Oxford, so it was so beautiful, so crazy. I came home and I began looking through different presets, learning more. I was asked to shoot my first wedding. I think I was paid $500. I didn't even quote that. There's no way in heck I would have quoted anything. But they said, look, we'll give you $500. I borrowed all of my friend James Day's equipment. He's this incredible photographer in Australia. I borrowed all of his cameras, and I went to that wedding and I shot it. It was like 10 minutes from my house, and I was terrified. And it's funny looking back because a wedding day is such a different experience for us now, but I was terrified. And by the time it got like around that I was shooting weddings, I actually had quite a lot of people ask me, and they would as well. They would say, we'll pay you $700, we'll pay you $750. And I just thought that was so much money, so much money. And this is Australian dollars. I thought it was so much money. I actually did get to shoot this wedding. It was after I'd been doing it for a while. It was in January of 2014. And there's this beautiful couple, Caitlin and Ronit. I still remember it. I remember it so vividly. I don't know, like for you, if you've shot a wedding or if you've thinking back to one of your first shoots, they're the ones you really remember vividly, hey, because the emotions are high. I was so nervous. It was styled really well, but they were really in love. She was this beautiful little petite redhead, and he was this tall, strong, outspoken Indian man, and just the two of them together, it was so vibrant and dynamic, and they had it at this really coveted wedding venue in Australia. And so I photographed that. I actually submitted it to a wedding magazine because I thought, they're so cute, why not? And they actually said yes. And so that was kind of the beginning for me of, I was already shooting photos for so long, but 2014 was really when my career began to take off. And I mean, to kind of bring it back to us, I always knew I would visit America. I'd gone when I was 10, and I loved it. Disneyland, you know, when you're 10, the Grand Canyon in the snow. I have such vivid memories of when I was a child. But by the time I finished university, I wanted to move to the city of Sydney. I moved, didn't use my degree at all. I just became a barista. And I just took photos. I started doing social media for other wedding photographers. I was so immersed in the wedding photography industry. I had James Day, I mentioned him before, Josh McHale, Kevin Cooper, who works for Fujifilm, or he worked for Fujifilm. They taught me like everything they knew. I owe them so much for their mentorship in my life, and I want to give honor where honor is due. I didn't learn all this from Google. I know some wedding photographers do, and that's incredible. Maybe you found us from Google, but I had real people face to face loving me, being intentional with me, and I'm so grateful for them. When I had the opportunity to come to America, it was actually because a friend of mine wanted me to come and be there for her wedding. She wanted me to shoot her wedding. And I felt unspeakably terrified. Can you imagine? I hadn't been doing it for that long, and I was going to be flown across the whole world to shoot this girl's wedding. But I said yes, and so instead of just coming out for her wedding, I was able to come out the summer before her autumn wedding. So I came out, I was so excited. Instagram was booming. Instagram was my life. It was my business. It was my friendships. Truly, true friendships came from Instagram in that year. And, you know, I came over, I met up with these beautiful people that I'd met on Instagram. They welcomed me into their life, into their community. The girl, the bride, I met her. We had this incredible day in Yosemite shooting her engagement shoot, which I now attribute to all of my work in America. I just attribute it to that shoot. Trust me, if you can get an incredible portfolio shoot in the area you want to shoot, for me it was the country of America, it just took off from there. The day after I did that engagement shoot, we drove down Highway 1 through California, and we showed up at Socality Live San Diego, which was a beautiful conference that was full of Instagrammers, and that's where I met you.
Yeah. So I actually considered Socality to be the starting point for me for photography. I had actually taken a lot of photos and been getting into it up until that point. But it was borrowing my grandma's camera and my aunt's lens. And I remember actually I was working at a cafe as well, and a friend was getting married and they just didn't have any money. And so they asked if I would come and shoot photos at their wedding. And their wedding was in their grandparents' house. It was very casual. But I had no idea what I was doing. I actually brought around a tripod with me. And I had a 24 millimeter to 100 millimeter zoom lens. And I didn't know. I shot on auto, and I just walked around everywhere with the tripod, and I would set it down and shoot through it. But yeah, they're all very, very fond first memories. And I remember my interest just kept growing in it, but I didn't have the money to buy gear. I didn't know how to get into it or where to start. And Socality was actually the thing that popped up as I was scrolling Instagram. And I was like, well, if there's one way to start, it's to surround myself with people who are doing what I want to be doing. So that was why I bought a ticket to go to Socality. And I didn't know anyone there. But crazy enough, that's where we met.
You didn't know anyone at all?
Mm-mm. Yeah.
You seemed so confident and at ease.
Yeah.
You were such a person of peace and so calm wherever you went, whoever you spoke with.
Thank you.
I noticed you didn't really take photos. You were really just absorbing.
Yeah.
Observing.
I think I was more committed to making connections, to meeting people. Yeah. I didn't really want to pretend that I knew very much because I didn't even know how to shoot on manual. I was still learning a lot, but I was very drawn to the idea of being able to take photos and work and engage with people in that way. So
so it was the second day of the conference. Was it the second day? We were at a little workshop, and it was very small. There was only 5 or 6 people, and he was one of them. And straight after the workshop was over, he walked right up to me and said, "What do you do? Where are you from?"
Yeah.
Because back then my accent was way stronger than it is today.
Yeah.
Because I was living in Australia.
Yeah.
And so you immediately came up to me, and that kind of began a growing friendship between us and those small group of people that were in the workshop.
Yeah.
By the time the conference was over, there was definitely some magnetic
Is that what you're going to call
chemistry. Yeah, there was. And you invited everyone to the concert.
Yeah, to a concert in Portland. And you were the only one who said yes.
I was the only one that said yes. I haven't told you this, but I actually told everyone else to say no. No, I'm joking.
You just text them.
I'm joking. That would have worked though. So he came up to Seattle to pick me up, and then we had the whole road trip from Seattle to Portland-ish together, and we just shared stories, and I basically knew that I was going to marry him.
Yeah.
I was very resistant for months in many ways, for many reasons, to start dating an American, to start dating someone from overseas. Yeah. And
there's a lot to sort out.
Yeah, and he was just incredible, and I was working through feeling worthy of love and believing in myself, and it was a big deal for me to move to America, but I moved over in 2016, and we went and visited your aunt in Alaska, and it was the first time we'd really
Before that, though, actually, the first camera that was gifted to me that became mine was from you, and it was on Christmas. It was on Christmas.
Yes.
And then we were really good friends / starting to date, and so I got the opportunity to start learning from you and asking you questions and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
then we went to Alaska.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was at that point I'd kind of just learned like some of Lightroom, and that was the first time that like I took a lot of photos myself. Like I was learning manual and figuring that out.
I still love those photos.
Yeah, so I think back to that trip all the time.
Yeah.
Because those were like my first photos that I'm like proud of.
Yeah. We, in April of that year, shot our first wedding together. Were you nervous?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was definitely nervous. I've been nervous for every wedding that we've shot.
That's a
Even though I'm usually like, I'm fairly comfortable, fairly confident, but like I had to grow into that.
Yeah.
And I think I've told you this before, but the nerves are good. I think when you're nervous,
healthy.
that it's just because you care about what you're doing.
Yeah, so. I agree. I was nervous too. I was nervous because the couple in question, Lauren and Madison, were like really incredible creatives, nicest people you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to do a good job for them. It mattered deeply to me, and therefore we were so nervous, but it went really, really well. We actually tag teamed a little bit.
Yeah. I remember too though at Madison and Lauren's wedding, Madison specifically was like so affirming throughout the whole morning.
Yes.
He was so confident in my vision. He always was like, this is so cool. I love where you're going with this. And so that whole day for that whole wedding, I felt like very confident and very comfortable. And I think it was mostly because like they instilled it in us. So like we kind of got better, like first clients for us shooting our first wedding together.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I would say the most significant part of this story, besides us falling in love, is actually a turning point that I had back in 2015. Now, it was before I'd come to America. I had been shooting for a few years, and I mean, as you can tell, like, I have really fond memories of those weddings, countless shoots. I can't even remember how many shoots I did in those first few years of my photography. There's so many.
Yeah.
But if you really quizzed me, I would be able to see all their faces, because it was really profound experiences, really great. You know, if you photograph people, there's a human connection you have, and so it does like ingrain itself in you. But I kind of had got to this point where every single shoot I had done, every wedding, every couple I'd photographed, every individual I'd photographed. I used to shoot a lot of portraits, a lot of families, couples, weddings, everything you name it, I did it. Like lifestyle, product, I just did everything I could.
Yeah.
And every single time I would shoot a human being, so like landscape aside, product photography aside, when I would shoot a human being, I kept thinking, gosh, there has to be another way than this, because I was really relying, I'm a little bit extroverted, and when I'm around people, I really was relying on my own abilities to maybe say something funny, or I would use self-deprecating humor, so I would kind of make fun of myself. It wasn't sitting well with me. It's actually hard to remember how I used to photograph, because this new method of the way we photograph through invitations is so ingrained in us now. But I feel like I don't remember what I used to say, but I remember the way it made me feel. And it made me feel like I was faking the reaction. I was doing everything I could, focused on myself completely, like using my own abilities, my own great eye contact, these things that I do possess when I'm with other people. I was relying on myself, and I thought, gosh, like, this is so hard for me. How do other people do it? I see these beautiful moments. How do other people do it? There has to be another way that I can really connect, that I didn't know it at the time, but I was longing to draw out real emotion and not fabricate or fake the environment around them. And so a lot of things happened as I grew. I began learning from my mentors. I began listening to a lot, reading a lot. I started going to workshops. I went to a ton of workshops, let me tell you. A lot of them were James Day workshops. I went to a Gesture Rocks workshop. That one was very influential. He helped open up my mind to my own humanity, to rekindling wonder, childlike wonder, to just stop taking myself so seriously, to stop taking the photography of people, human beings, so seriously. There's a joy here, there's a wonder here. So I'm really grateful for all the workshops I went to and everything I learned. But that turning point, beginning to realize there's a way to invite connection that does not rely on my own abilities, myself, that isn't self-focused, but is all about them, the people in front of you. So that turning point happened right before I met you.
Yeah.
So I come to America. Very first couple I ever photographed using this new method are now my good friends, Ashley and Joel. We went up to this beautiful mountain. I was beside myself, this little Aussie girl being like, mountains, fog, rain. It was so incredible. I'm with them. I'm inviting emotion. You know, if you are going to make your way through the lessons in our masterclass, you'll see I was inviting that emotion, drawing it out. We get to the end, really heightened intimacy. They trusted me. We'd been together for 2 hours, and I said to Joel, if you had a superpower to take away her pain, just with one single touch of your hand on her face, how would you touch her? It was, imagine it, very emotional, very beautiful. And Camron, you want to show them what?
I already started laughing.
Okay, and show them what I was trying to invite.
Something like.
So he goes, and it was a very Joel reaction now that I know him better. But here's the thing, I didn't know him. I did not know him at all, barely at all. But you know who did know him? Ashley. They'd been married for a long time, like 5 or 6, I think 5 years at that point. She knew him. And so that moment that, you know, perhaps I'd brought in this intention, oh, it's going to be a really intimate moment, this beautiful invitation towards, that really like lent itself towards the intimacy of the hand and the face. Ashley knew, and she just cracked up laughing, and the photos are beautiful, and that memory is something, that story is something that I do tell. So for me, that turning point in 2015, I began to shoot couples. We met, we had sexuality, we started dating, we fell in love, we dated for a year, and then you proposed. Do you want to give a little summary of the proposal?
Funny enough, we went to a place called Franklin Falls with our friends, Ashley and Joel. It was winter, and planned to hike up into some frozen falls to propose there. And the road that went up to the parking lot for the little hike that was supposed to be like a half hour was closed off from all the snow. And so we parked where we could, and we started walking up, but I had no idea how much extra time it was going to add to the hike. And I had planned the timing wise for it to be like right at sunset for the best light. And we were like 45 minutes into the hike, and like there was no start of the trail in sight. So I realized that we wouldn't be able to make it all the way. But you didn't know, obviously, that I was proposing. And so we actually just walked right off the trail into snow that was at least waist deep. It was, and we just walked out into a little creek area with all the snow.
Beautiful.
And Ashley was going to take some photos of us, and I got down on one knee and proposed there. And now it's a very memorable place.
Yeah. And then 2 or 3 days later, we got on a plane, went to Australia.
Yep.
We were in Australia for 7 months waiting for a visa. We came back, and during the 7 months, we planned a reception party in Sydney. We were photographed by James Simmons, who's incredible, one of the best wedding photographers in Australia. And he actually invited genuine, true emotion from us. So we've been photographed more times than we can really remember.
Yeah.
And he is actually one of the people that we remember the most for the ways that he evoked and drew out real, true emotional responses from us. Nothing fake, nothing fabricated. So we love those images. And then for our wedding day, we got Ben Heish, and he was so incredible, so kind, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I can't get over the photos. But more than that, it was our wedding day. It was our elopement day. So we're biased towards those. Those are our favorite photos of all time.
Yeah.
Then we went back to Alaska for our honeymoon.
Yep.
And we were photographed by India
Which
Earl.
was so surreal.
So surreal.
Yeah.
And her and her husband Jay, he made our wedding video for us, and she photographed us in her own beautiful, powerful, intimate, unique way that she does. So we had 3 photographers in the space of a couple months just blow our minds with their different methods, different techniques, and different photos, and we love all of them so much. So
I love thinking back on the memories of those 3 weddings and how different each celebration was, and in the different places of the world, and with those different people, but also with the photographers and their distinct styles and their approaches and their vision. It was really cool for me to experience that and realize that each style and vision can be so different, but they all executed on it so well, and all those are pleasant and fond memories for me. So.
I love that. I fully agree with that. You know, I was just thinking as you were speaking, I was reminded of, I worked for a wedding magazine for a while called White Magazine. Loved them, loved their heart, loved their vision. And I was that person, you're probably going to hate me, but I was that person that would accept or reject your wedding. Sorry for the times that I rejected yours. Let me just tell you, it's actually a really hard job because you sit there, and I'm a wedding photographer myself, so I know how much work goes into it. You sit there and wedding after wedding after wedding after wedding, dozens upon dozens upon dozens. Every single time you sit down to work, you have to accept or reject. And obviously I'm a human being with a heart. Would you agree? I have such a heart, don't I? And it's really hard for me to click reject. But I tell you what one thing I learned from that time as part of our story that, you know, Camron saw me learn and we've both adopted is that the images that stand out when you're looking at thousands of images, the images of people that stand out are the ones with true emotion and real connection. And that's not an airy-fairy statement. That is grounded, true images that are grounded in humanity, that you see them, you see part of their story, part of their character, part of their personality in the image. And let me tell you, it's not actually, for me, looking through thousands, it wasn't about the technical perfection of the image, though that, you know, we're always growing, we're learning to be more technically perfect in the images that we shoot, our settings, the way we edit. But honestly, at the end of the day, when I had to make a decision, and other people that are, you know, judges in competitions and things like that, at the end of the day, the images that win, the images that are accepted are those that are powerfully emotional, powerfully demonstrating human connection. I think what we'll be most proud of when we look back on our career as wedding photographers will be that, you know, we didn't see people, human beings, for what they could do for us. Like, over the years, I look back on every shoot that I've done, every wedding that I've done, and I fought for it, obviously, and I had to do a lot of intention and practice it, but I did fight for it. But I look back, and every single one, I treated them as a beautiful human being, and I focused on capturing them, their story, their experience, their emotion, their beauty, their humanity. And I'm so proud of that.
Yeah.
And that would be what I would be most proud of, like looking back on our career, because, you know, we're not going to be wedding photographers forever. And so I'm already thinking, when we look back, what will we be most proud of? What would you say for that one?
Yeah. I would say just being able to be part of so many beautiful moments of connection for other people. And not only that, but I feel like because of that, because we were invited into that space that they shared with us, we have a genuine connection to them. Like, we've had so many couples reach out to us and that we've shot, like, their weddings or something, and they're like, do you guys want to go out for drinks or catch up for dinner or something like that? Like, they literally consider us to be friends, and it's because we were invited into such an intimate space.
Thank you so much for listening to our story. Honestly, that was 0.001% of our story, but we hope you were encouraged by something in it.
Yeah.
We are so glad to have finally shared our story.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot more to say, but we'll leave it at that for now. Thank you for watching.